Porter Cable, Elu, Delta, Miller's Falls, Craftsman. Some of the greatest power tools ever built, all discontinued or degraded beyond recognition. The industry calls it market evolution. The financial filings tell a different story, one that traces to 4 corporations controlling 78% of a $40 billion market and a $2.1 billion cost-cutting program that turned legendary tool makers into line items on a balance sheet. A $40 billion market, yet only 4 corporations call the shots. Stanley Black Decker claims nearly 30% of global power tool revenue. Tektronix Industries, with its sprawling roster of brands, takes another 22%. Add Bosch and Makita, and the combined grip reaches 78% of the world's sales. That leaves just over a fifth for every other name, regional specialists, family-run shops, and the remnants of once mighty American brands. The numbers come straight from Fredonia and FM11, echoed in financial filings and analyst briefings. This isn't slow evolution or healthy competition. It's a textbook oligopoly, where a handful of boardrooms dictate what gets built, how it's made, and whether a storied name survives or gets stamped onto a plastic shell. In North America, the concentration is even more severe. 2 players, SBD and TTI, control about 65% of the market, their reach extending from job site to big box shelf. For every Porter Cable or Delta that vanishes, a new DeWalt or Ryobi fills the gap, engineered not for legacy or loyalty, but for margin. The scale of control is staggering. These 4 giants set the terms for suppliers, dictate retail shelf space, and decide which innovations see daylight. It's the kind of dominance that shapes not just what tools are available, but what kind of craftsmanship is even possible. Stanley Black Decker's $2.1 billion cost-cutting program began as a boardroom mandate and quickly became a blueprint for erasing decades of engineering pride. The plan, detailed in SBD's 2023 10K filings, set out to purge $450 million in inventory and squeeze every possible cent from the supply chain. CFO John H. Henthorne explained in a July earnings call, "We are aggressively trimming our SKU portfolio, focusing on high-margin, high-growth product families." That meant thousands of slow-moving tools, many with loyal followings, were flagged for discontinuation, their parts liquidated or sold off to third parties. Debt weighed heavily, with a debt-to-equity ratio of 0.96 times by the end of 2023. SBD's leadership saw the answer in plant closures, workforce reductions, and a ruthless shift to single-source contracts for motors and batteries. The company targeted a permanent 5% improvement in operating margin, but the price was measured in lost jobs, shuttered American factories, and the end of legacy components that once set these brands apart. The inventory purge was not just about clearing shelves, it was a signal to suppliers and engineers that the era of experimentation and quality-first design was over. Every decision was filtered through the lens of short-term debt relief and margin expansion, with little regard for the trust or reputation built over generations. The result was a slow-motion hollowing out, one that would soon show up in the very guts of the tools themselves. Porter Cable's original random orbital sander, once recognized by the Smithsonian as a triumph of American engineering, became a warning sign for the industry. Early models relied on steel-cased motors and precision ball bearings from India and Japan, chosen for their durability, not cost. After the Stanley Black Decker takeover, teardown reports exposed a sharp decline. Signature bearings replaced by generic imports, sturdy aluminum swapped for brittle plastic. Failures surged. Woodworkers who had trusted Porter Cable for decades returned sanders with burned-out motors and seized bearings within a year. The Smithsonian's 1996 honor now feels like an epitaph. ELU's Plunge router, a benchmark for accuracy and smooth operation in the 1960s, owed its reputation to Japanese bearings and a cast iron base. After DeWalt acquired ELU in the 1990s, cost-cutting swept through production. The prized bearing set was replaced with off-the-shelf parts. Wooden handles gave way to molded polymer. Hobbyist teardowns revealed a 45% jump in spindle runout and a spike in overheating complaints, numbers that would have been unthinkable in ELU's heyday. By 2008, the last true ELU router vanished, its name reduced to a sticker on DeWalt tools. Delta's Unisaw, once known for cast iron heft and German bearings, faced the same fate. Corporate consolidation brought ceramic axis bearings from China, doubling vibration amplitude over vintage models. Alignment failures and premature wear followed, and the Unisaw slipped into discount chains. Each collapse followed the same script: acquisition, downgraded components, and eroded trust. Engineers lost their voice, professionals lost their tools, and a bond built over generations was quietly broken. Miller's Falls once stood for American ingenuity, its belt sanders and hand drills built with steel gear trains and German fag bearings. After Murray Machinery took control in 1972, the company's reputation began to erode. Production shifted to Taiwan. Oil-lubricated bearings gave way to sealed ceramic hybrids, and failure rates climbed. By the time Stanley Black Decker acquired the brand in 1999, Miller's Falls was a nameplate in search of a product. The last gasp came in 2004, when the iconic line was scrapped and the badge slapped onto generic, Craftsman-compatible imports. Vintage Miller's Falls sanders now command triple the price of their plastic descendants on the resale market, a blunt verdict from users who know the difference. Hitachi's power tool division tells a different kind of cautionary tale. For decades, Hitachi pneumatic nailers dominated job sites, with some models holding as much as 80% market share in Japan and South Korea. But in 2018, private equity giant KKR bought the division for $1.3 billion and began a dizzying rebrand. Hitachi became Metabo HPT, then Hikoki. Model numbers shifted, warranty paperwork lagged behind, and forums filled with confusion. Contractors reported invalid claims and mismatched parts, while resale prices for original Hitachi tools surged 70% above their Metabo-branded replacements. The engineering survived, but the trust did not. Craftsman's decline is written in the fine print of a broken promise. Once a Sears house brand, Craftsman built its legacy on a lifetime warranty and all-metal construction. Stanley Black Decker's $900 million acquisition in 2017 changed the equation. Production moved offshore, warranty claims languished, and Trustpilot ratings collapsed to 1.7 out of 5 by 2025. The final blow came with the discontinuation of the V-Series hand tools, the last holdout of original Craftsman quality. Home Depot and Lowe's cleared their shelves, and vintage 1990s drills began fetching triple the price of new models. For loyal customers, it wasn't just a brand that disappeared, it was a contract, quietly voided in pursuit of margin. The same badge now covers a lineup that bears little resemblance to what built its reputation, leaving a vacuum where trust and pride once lived. Makita's engineers still walk the factory floors in Japan, overseeing lines where every cordless drill and saw is assembled to the same tolerances that built their reputation decades ago. The company spends nearly 5% of annual revenue on research and development, a figure double that of some rivals, fueling a steady stream of patents and incremental improvements. Festool, headquartered in Wendlingen, Germany, has refused to chase volume for its own sake. Instead, it invests heavily in proprietary brushless motors and dust extraction systems, earning a 34% gross margin and commanding prices that rarely dip below $400 per tool. Stihl, still family-owned, keeps its chainsaw and engine production vertically integrated, with a record of 0 recalls in the past 20 years. Milwaukee Tool, under Tektronic Industries, has poured over $1.5 billion into lithium-ion and brushless motor R&D since 2018, driving double-digit growth and winning back professional loyalty, even as other brands faltered. Public filings from 2021 to 2024 show these companies growing share, not by cutting corners, but by making reliability and innovation the pillars of their business. Their engineers aren't just allowed to pursue new ideas, they're expected to. In a market obsessed with margin, these survivors prove that quality can still pay. On the secondary market, the verdict is clear. Vintage Porter Cable, Delta, and ELU tools routinely fetch 4 to 5 times the price of their modern counterparts on eBay. A 1960s ELU rotor, with its original German bearings, can sell for $300, while a current rebadge model struggles to break $70. Delta unisaws from the pre-offshoring era command similar premiums. Their cast iron frames and smooth-running gear trains prized by woodworkers who know the difference. This isn't nostalgia driving the price. It's a recognition of lost value. A 2024 survey of professional contractors found that 78% distrust the current generation of legacy brand power tools, citing failure rates and warranty headaches as top concerns. In the words of a Smithsonian curator, these tools were designed to last longer than their owners. What's on the shelf now is a shadow, an echo of what American industry once stood for. The resale premium, the skepticism, the reverence in museum halls, each is a measure of what's been squandered for a temporary boost in margin. Today, 3 corporations steer a $40 billion industry once defined by ingenuity and trust. Each vanished icon is a warning. Short-term profits erase decades of reputation in a single boardroom decision. True craftsmanship endures where stewardship, not greed, prevails. The tools may disappear, but the lesson is impossible to ignore.